we've got an opinion commentary piece from the Wall Street Journal. Now, keep in mind, the Wall Street Journal has a readership of people that consume the Wall Street Journal across all political lines, okay? And the Wall Street Journal in this article is calling, or at least saying out loud, that maybe Caitlin Clark's civil rights are actually being violated.
Big news from the Wall Street Journal is making waves in the sports world. They're raising serious concerns that the WNBA might be violating Caitlin Clark's civil rights, and if that's true, the consequences could be huge. We're not just talking about unfair treatment on the court anymore. We're talking about the possibility of federal investigations, lawsuits, and even congressional hearings that could shake up the league in a big way. The article, written by Sean McLean, argues that what Clark is facing isn't just poor sportsmanship, it might actually be illegal under federal law. He claims the WNBA could be creating a hostile work environment by not addressing what appears to be repeated, targeted behavior against her. And if the league's leadership has been turning a blind eye, that could land them in serious legal trouble. When a major outlet like the Wall Street Journal starts comparing a pro sports league to a potential civil rights case, it's clear this is no longer just about basketball. This could change everything.
Everybody's bragging about this 5-game winning streak. It is great. But Caitlin Clark doesn't get to play under these circumstances, where these girls are just going out there and playing basketball. That doesn't get to happen for her.
Let's take a closer look at what's really being said here, because this isn't just some sports fan venting online. This is a major, respected news outlet calling for serious action. They're not just criticizing rough play, they're suggesting that federal agencies like the Department of Justice and even Congress should step in. There's even talk of possible antitrust issues. That kind of language doesn't just stir up debate, it sends a real warning. When these kinds of claims start circulating in top-tier media, it's the kind of thing that keeps league officials and commissioners up at night.
The Wall Street Journal in this article is calling, or at least saying out loud, that maybe Caitlin Clark's civil rights are actually being violated. Is her right to a peaceful workplace, a non-hostile work environment, are those rights being violated by the WNBA?
The article brings up a point a lot of people have seen, but few have said out loud. Caitlin Clark has done for the WNBA what Michael Jordan once did for the NBA. The numbers speak for themselves. Viewership is up 366%, app usage has jumped 613%, and merchandise sales have skyrocketed by 601%. These aren't small improvements. These are game-changing figures that have pulled the league out of the shadows and into the spotlight. But here's the twist, rather than celebrating and supporting Clark, the WNBA seems to be treating her like a problem to manage, not a star to protect. And that has a lot of people asking why?
And at the very least, there's a portion of this that says maybe WNBA leadership should at least have to go sit in front of some people and answer some very uncomfortable questions. Lord knows I would love to see that. Because Kathy Engelbert and Adam Silver, it seems to be nothing to see here. Please move along. Now, I've seen a lot of fans just come out and say, hey, they're assaulting her, it's battery, yada, yada, yada.
It's like someone in the family wins the lottery, and instead of celebrating, everyone complains they're getting too much attention. It just doesn't add up, unless there's something deeper going on behind the scenes.
Now, it talks about the fact that Caitlin Clark has basically done for the WNBA what Michael Jordan did for the NBA, right? Instead of protecting its transformative star, the league's leadership ignores the relentless targeting of Miss Clark, treating its greatest asset.
Now here's where the legal side really starts to heat up. According to the article, Caitlin Clark has taken 17% of all flagrant fouls in the entire league, twice as many as most other players. That's not just a rough few games or a random trend. That's a clear pattern. And when you've got hard numbers showing someone's being treated differently, that's exactly the kind of evidence civil rights attorneys look for. It's the point where things stop being just controversial and start becoming a potential legal case.
I also blow up on the internet because I fought someone. So
just so sick.
Honestly, it is funny. It is funny because
for good reason.
Yeah. Well,
wasn't she?
Yeah. Let me just tell people the story real quick because I don't think I've gotten to really tell my point of view of things.
Yeah.
Is like, you have seen players in our league try to like toughen up Caitlin or CC for even when I wasn't on her team. Like I know the talks that Phoenix had in the locker room of like, no, we're going to prove her, we're going to show her what the W really is. You know what I mean? And like, I get it to a certain extent. And like every rookie comes to the league, that's how you're going to treat them. But
Right.
there's just more for her. So it's her second year. And like now being on her team and like seeing it, I'm like, what are people doing? Like actually it's just too much. And like, it's just, I'm over. And if I'm saying it's too much, then it's probably too much.
Sophie Cunningham, a player for the Phoenix Mercury, recently said out loud what many fans have been thinking: the star player of the league is not being protected. That's not a random social media opinion, that's coming from someone who competes against Caitlin Clark. When opposing players are speaking up like that, it's a major red flag. Clark herself has also said, everybody is physical with me. They get away with things others don't. She's not complaining or demanding special treatment, she's pointing out a clear double standard. And it's not just talk. She's already missed 10 games and the All-Star game because of injuries, and during her absence, the All-Star ratings dropped 55%. That alone shows how important she is to the league. When a player's absence costs that much in viewership and that absence is due to repeated hard fouls that other players don't experience, it begins to look like the league has failed to protect its most valuable asset. A J.A. Wilson, one of the WNBA's biggest stars, added another layer by suggesting race plays a role in how Clark is being treated. That's a serious claim, and under civil rights law, you don't need to prove someone meant to discriminate, just that there's a consistent pattern of different treatment based on race. The article in the Wall Street Journal breaks this all down, citing real legal cases like Harris versus Forklift Systems and Texas Department of Community Affairs versus Badin, which show how hostile work environments and disparate treatment can lead to federal action. These aren't opinions, they're legal standards being applied to what's happening on the court. And then there are the public comments, like the one from Washington Mystics owner Sheila Johnson, who said Clark didn't deserve to be Times Athlete of the Year by herself. ESPN legend Dick Vitale called it jealousy, but in a legal setting, statements like that from team owners could support claims of bias or league-wide hostility. Adding Clark being left off the Olympic team, despite being the most talked about and marketable player in women's basketball, and it starts to look like exclusion, maybe even retaliation. The political side is heating up too. Senator Jim Banks has already sent a letter to WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert demanding answers, and the article says Congress may hold hearings. If Engelbert and NBA Commissioner Adam Silver have to sit in front of lawmakers and explain why their most popular player is getting this kind of treatment, that could mean major trouble for the league. A Labor Department investigation is also being floated, since workplace safety is under federal oversight. If it's shown that the WNBA didn't provide a safe environment for Clark, the league could face more than bad press, it could face real penalties. And if the Justice Department's Civil Rights Division gets involved, they can dig deep into the league's practices and even force changes. What really puts the WNBA in danger, though, is the mention of its special legal status. Sports leagues like the WNBA operate under antitrust exemptions that let them do business in ways other companies can't. If Congress questions those exemptions over how Clark is being treated, it could reshape how the entire league functions. The timing of all this makes things even clearer. Since Clark's been out, her team has been on a winning streak and the physical play has toned down. That's not a coincidence, it's more like a real-time experiment showing how much extra contact Clark normally faces. According to the article, no player has been suspended for any of the repeated flagrant fouls against her, despite video evidence and growing concerns. That's exactly the kind of selective enforcement civil rights lawyers point to when building discrimination cases. When the rules get applied differently based on who's on the receiving end, that's classic disparate treatment. The Marina Mabry hit, which was a blindside shove, and the DJ Carrington play from last season both could have caused serious injury. In any other workplace, they'd be considered assault. But on the WNBA court, they were brushed off as hard fouls. The Journal notes Clark may be just one more flagrant foul away from a career-ending injury, and that's not an exaggeration. This is why the article matters so much. It's not from a sports outlet, it's from a major business publication. That changes everything. When business reporters start talking about civil rights violations and legal liability, it means this is no longer just a basketball debate, it's now a potential legal and political crisis. The numbers back up Clark's importance. When she plays, ratings surge. When she sits, they drop. She's driving massive fan interest, app engagement, and merchandise sales. The league has never seen growth like this. And yet, instead of protecting her and building on that momentum, they've treated her like a nuisance. From a business standpoint, that makes no sense, unless something else is going on. The article even suggests the WNBA's internal emails and communications should be investigated. In many discrimination cases, that's where the real evidence is found: comments, decisions, or attitudes that show bias behind the scenes. And there's a clear precedent for government involvement in sports. The federal government has already taken action in college sports over gender discrimination, and if the same thing happens in the WNBA, it would be even more high profile. But the antitrust threat might be the league's biggest concern. If those protections are pulled, the WNBA would be forced to operate under regular business laws, and that would fundamentally change how the league runs. Given the political climate and Clark's popularity, this could easily become a bipartisan issue with support from both sides of the aisle. And the fact that it's all playing out live, where fans can literally see the difference when Clark is on or off the court, makes this even stronger from a legal point of view. The Journal ends by saying this could get very ugly, very fast, and that might be putting it mildly. With federal investigations, lawsuits, and political pressure all building around the league's most important player, the WNBA may be facing the biggest crisis in its history. What started as a sports controversy is quickly turning into a serious civil rights issue. The Wall Street Journal has made it clear, this is no longer just about basketball. And the league should be very concerned about what happens next.